G'day guys, well welcome back to the channel. Well, we have something really exciting today. We're going to be installing an alarm system into our Caravan. Now this is the brand new RVsecure Platinum X version 2 that they've just released. Now we've installed their original version, so their version 1, into our old Jayco Caravan, and it was absolutely brilliant. Now from what they've told me, they've made some remarkable improvements to the version 2, and they've simplified the actual installation. So they're only saying that it takes about an hour to an hour and a half to install. So we're going to be testing that sort of theory out. What we'll do now is we'll go through the new features that the new system has, and then go through a bit of an installation process. All right, so let's go through what you actually get in the box. Now this is the brand new Platinum X version 2, and they've simplified this design. Now one thing I want to point out is this is 100% Australian made. And if you've been following the channel for some time, I love supporting Australian made businesses. Now the actual connections itself, there's a positive and negative connection which goes to your battery. Now you don't need to fuse it because it is already fused here. Then there's 3 input wires here from your trailer connection. There's also a Siren input, and then there's also a GPS input as well. Again, you can option this up with a GPS, which we are actually doing. Now it also comes with a reed switch. So this goes onto your door or some sort of compartment hatch that you can put onto, and it simply, once you break that sort of contact, it will then trip the alarm. Now all these devices that you connect to the system are all wireless, so that again makes the installation much simpler. You do get a movement sensor or a PIR, so you can mount that up in the corner of the van somewhere, and that will detect any sort of movement. You do get a panic button as well, so this will activate the alarm in the event of an emergency. You get a siren, so this siren then plugs in, so this will give you that audible sort of sound, as well as the flashing lights of the van when the alarm is activated. And you get 2 of the key fobs here, which then enable you to program the alarm system and turn the alarm system on and off. So also included in the kit is a couple of stickers to warn off any sort of pending thieves that your Caravan is RV secured. And you also get the batteries for those reed switches and those PIRs, so you don't need to worry about that. Now one thing they don't include in the kit is any specific wiring. Now the reason why they don't do that is because each individual Caravan is going to have its own requirements. So it all depends on where you're going to mount the actual module itself and where the battery is located. However, what I do suggest is going out and grabbing some either 3, 5 or 7 core wiring. You only need the 3 core. I've got some leftover 7 core from a previous light install I did on a box trailer, so I'm going to be using that. It's cheap and it's easy. All right, so let's talk about what sets this system aside to the competition. So along with all the features that you got in the Gen 1, the Gen 2 range has a few more. Now one of those features is the brake tamper detection. Now what that means is when the alarm is activated, it's constantly monitoring that brake line. So if someone wants to come along and cut that line, it's going to trigger the alarm. What they've also introduced is a battery monitoring feature. So what you can do is in the system settings, you can set the voltage that you want the alarm to trigger at, and then the alarm will go off once it hits that limit. This system is obviously designed for the DIY market and ease of installation. So again, 3 connections plus power, and then you're up and running. So look, let's not waste any more time. Let's get stuck in. So first part of the install is working out where we're going to install the main brain. Now this is underneath the bed at the sort of front of the van. Now this is where all my sort of battery compartment is. Now I think I'm going to be choosing this spot here because it's nice and close to the battery. I don't have to run the wires that far. And I know when I go to run the wires for the cable for the trailer harness, I know it's just sort of just over there. So I'm going to go ahead and mount this up now. So now it's time to run the power cable for the module itself. Now traditionally you'd run this directly to the sort of battery. Now again, it doesn't need to be fused because it already has that fuse that's sort of already built in. Now in my situation, I'm going to be running the power cables to these 2 bus bars here. So I've got a negative and a positive bus bar. And we're just going to be using some twin core wire here. Now I only literally need like ½ a meter to sort of connect it up, and also included in the kit is these fork connectors which you can then crimp onto your cable. All right, so now it's time to run our core wire. Now this again is a 7 core wire. You could use a 3 or a 5 core. It doesn't really sort of matter. Again, I just had this laying around. Now what we're going to do is going to drill a hole through the floor of the Caravan and then poke it out to the side where the actual the trailer connections are located. Now in case of Jayco have a nice convenient little location on the sort of on the driver's side, so on the off side of the van. where there's a galvanized sort of panel there. Unscrew that and all the connections are there located. All right, so now we've pulled our cable through the floor. We're ready to hook up to the actual unit. Now what we need to do is just strip these wires down. Now there's 3 wires. There's a brown, red and a blue wire, and we need to connect these fork terminals onto them. Now blue is your power wire for your brakes, so that gives you the connection to the electric brakes. Red is for your stop lamps, and then brown is for your park lights. So we'll connect them up and then we can then move outside. All right, so before we get outside and connect up to the trailer wiring harness, what we're going to do is just install the Siren. Now the Siren is only a short little sort of cable, around about sort of 300, 400 millimeters long. You can extend this if you wanted to, so you can have it externally. However, we're just going to be mounting it in the same area as the module. So one of the options you can add to the RVsecure system is a GPS tracker. Now these are simply plug and play. Now we had one on the old Caravan and it absolutely worked a treat. What this will enable you to do is track your location of your Caravan, but also receive notifications if you get any alarm activations. So definitely something worth to consider. All right, so while we're under the bed, I thought I'd take the opportune time to also mount the GPS unit. Now, it does come with 2 antennas. So this one here is the GPS antenna, and this one here is the 3 and 4G antenna. Now, it simply just attaches with some double-sided tape. Now, there's no real critical sort of spot where to put this at all. I'm just going to put it inside the underneath the bed here, and then mount those antennas. Now, again, this just simply plugs and plays. So this will just plug into the actual GPS itself, and then plug into the Platinum X. So what I will do though is I will get some conduit and cover these wires up just to neaten up the install. Right, so outside the van here, this is where we have our connection point for our trailer harness. So basically it's a galvanized cover here. We're just going to unscrew that and then connect our wires into. So when it comes time to mounting the window or door detector, basically what you want to do is line up on the door so that the 2 devices can be pretty close to each other. They don't need to be touching, but that 3 to 5 millimeter gap would be sufficient. Right, so when it comes to mounting the movement sensor or the PIR, what we need to do is just find a location where it's not going to impact any opening of any cupboards. So where we've got here next to the microwave here, we're going to mount it up there, and it's not going to be interfering anything. All right, so when it comes to mounting the panic button, it's simply just double-sided tapes on. Now, choose a spot which is most relevant for yourself. In our situation, we're going to mount it just above the bed here, just like that. All right, so now we've buttoned everything back up, everything's all installed. Now it's time to plug that fuse back in and give it a good test. And fingers crossed, we've got it all right. So now the system's all powered up, it's time to give it a test. Now simply just grab our remote control. Now this is the new remote control and I like this much better than the older version. The other one was a little bit bigger. Now it's got 4 buttons on it, A, B, C and D. A is for arm and D is for disarm. B and C I'll talk about shortly. Now to simply arm the system, we're just going to push A. What that's done now is it's armed all those sensors that we've got all in place. We'll simply open the door now. We'll trigger the read switch, which is here. We can hear the alarm that's going off, which is absolutely fantastic. Now to turn it off, we'll just push D, and you can hear the little beep, and now that's turned off. All right, so let's talk about these 2 other buttons, B and C. What do? Now, B is a silent mode. So when you hit this button, it'll arm the system up. However, it will isolate the siren, so you won't get that sort of screaming sound. C Now C is a night mode or a perimeter mode. So this is really handy feature at night time. So when you hit C and you're going to go to sleep, basically it'll arm all the van up. So any of your reed switches on your door or your toolbox or whatever you got activated. However, it'll isolate the PIR. So you can still move around the van without it setting off the alarm. However, if someone tries to open your toolbox or your door at night, it'll set the alarm off, which is an absolutely fantastic feature. Now, let's talk about how long it took me to install. Now, in total, it took me around about an hour and a half to install, which is much quicker than the Gen 1 version. It took me about an hour, as I said, hour and a half. The Gen 1 version takes about double that time. It was a little bit more fiddly, had a couple of relays that you had to play with, and was a little bit more technical in terms of the setup, whereas this one is simply 3 wires plus power, and that's basically it. It's really that simple. Now, a couple of the brand new features I want to talk about in the Gen 2 is the brake tamper. So basically what happens is that if the system is, when it's armed and it detects that someone has actually cut the brake wire, it'll set the alarm off. So that is a great feature. And also the other new feature that they've added to the system is a low battery voltage alarm. So basically if the battery level in your Caravan drops below a certain voltage, it'll set the alarm off to sort of notify you. Now, on top of that, we've obviously installed the optional GPS unit. What that's going to do also is going to send you notifications directly to your phone. Now, I won't talk too much about the GPS. We spoke about that in the previous install video. If you want to check that out, it's just up the top here. I'll leave a link there, and also in the description below where you can check that install out. I'll go into a little bit more sort of detail. All right, so the burning question that everyone wants to know is how much is this system going to cost me? Well, right now on the RVsecure website, it's currently listed at $699, and if you want the optional GPS module, it's an additional $300. Now, just keep in mind, there is an additional subscription fee that's associated with the GPS, and there's a couple of different tiers depending on your subscription that you want. However, what I'll do is I'll leave a link in the description below where you can check that out. All right, so the other question is that you're probably going to ask me is, well, Adam, you've been sent this for review. Would you purchase this with your own money if you didn't get this for free? Now, the answer is 100% yes. I've experienced the Gen 1 version firsthand for the last sort of 12 months and absolutely fell in love with it. The peace of mind that it gives us when we're away from the camp spot, while we can get notifications sent to our phone if the alarm's triggered, or if the alarm activates and we're not in sort of service, it's going to alert those other campers that are around us, is absolutely fantastic. Now, the other feature that allows my wife to sleep at night is we use the perimeter feature all the time. It just gives us sort of peace of mind is that when the kids are asleep and when we're asleep, if they happen to get up at night and try to get out of the Caravan, or if someone tries to get in, it's going to set the alarm off. Anyway, guys, we've worked with the RVsecure to get you guys a discount, and it's a 5% discount. So if you enter Get Camping 5 at the checkout, you're going to get 5% off your Platinum X system. Now, also, if you've checked out my HD wireless camera, which is also an RVsecure product, if you enter Get Camping 10 at checkout, you're going to get 10% off your camera. Now, if you've got any questions or comments, drop them down below. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider subscribing. It really helps the channel out. And until next time, get out there, get camping, and we'll talk to you soon.